Jalen Green and what he did in last night's game was really something to behold. And I don't know that it happens again. And I don't think that all of a sudden one good game by Jalen Green means that Jalen Green is him, you know? A lot of touchdown dances last night. For all of those who have stayed loyal to Jalen Green, because that's what you're expected to do these days. You're not allowed to question things. You're not allowed to criticize things. You're either on the wagon or you're off the wagon, which is weird. No nuance, huh? But a lot of people who have been claiming Jalen Green is the guy that will determine the Rockets' future are basically demanding apologies of people who have criticized Green in the past. To me, that is a step too far. I will give Green all the credit in the world for last night's performance. It really was a good one. He showed chutzpah, balls, confidence. He didn't let game one stick with him. He shook it off. He did the little things early on. He did the scoring as the game wore on. And I think early on, you saw a couple of moments where you're like, okay, he feels his shot, but he really, down the stretch of this game, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, I think he really showed that when he gets hot, he can stay hot at the playoff level. We know he has elite speed, elite dribbling ability. He can create his own shot, unlike a lot of players in the league. He can shoot. Not the best shooter. He can dunk. He can drive. The guy is a very capable scorer. And I've said at times, I think that maybe his final form is going to be the best sixth man in the league by far. I know Peyton Pritchard just won it. No, I feel like Jalen Green could be a 30-minute sixth man coming into games and just taking over offensively when the subs come in. But in a game like last night where he's doing it against that Golden State Warriors team, which, was out Jimmy Butler for the majority of the game, it was really awesome to see. I just think that we got to pump the brakes when it comes to thinking, okay, Green's figured it out. It's a 7-game series. We've seen James Harden have good games in the playoffs, And I think we'd all agree that James Harden, better player, at least to this point, because Jalen Green's young, than Jalen Green. We might like Jalen Green a little bit more because Green does more of the little things that Harden didn't do. Harden always a scorer and nothing more. Green actually does try on the defensive side of things, actually does put in some effort on the boards, actually does from time to time set up his teammates like he did very well early on. But don't be demanding an apology to the many people of the many people who have doubted him. He's got to do it again. He's probably going to need to do it at least one time more before the end of this series, which I still think is going to go 6 or 7. The latest update when it comes to Jimmy Butler and his status for this series is this. This is reported by Brett Siegel, who is a NBA insider for Clutch Points. Quote, early word on Jimmy Butler this morning is that the Warriors don't feel like this is anything worse than what Steph Curry dealt with a few weeks back. Okay, so Steph had a pelvic contusion too? What's up with all these pelvic contusions? Is this code for balls? Is this code for dong? You ever had that happen? I will admit, when I played high school football down in St. Petersburg, Florida, from 2003 through 2006, damn, it was 20 years ago. When I was playing down there, I did not wear a cup. And I found out at one point it might be better to wear a cup. That wasn't fun. There was a moment where I was trying to tackle one of my teammates named Josh. And Josh, while I lined up to tackle him, his knee went right between my legs and hit me right in the pelvis. As I fell back on the ground, because Josh was bigger than me, and also, ow, my balls! Josh either accidentally or Draymond Green-esquely stepped on my stuff. I had bruises on Paulie Jr. and the boys for a good 3 weeks. Oh, they're tender. So tender. Can I procreate? I guess we'll find out if I ever get married. I don't know. But yeah, a pelvic contusion sounds brutal. But okay, if Steph Curry's only out a couple of days with it, then he can get back in there. And I think when it comes to Jimmy Butler, a guy who we all respect his toughness, a guy that we look at and know that he wants to be out there. Like the odds that Jimmy Butler is kept out multiple games by this, if even one game, I do think that they are rather long. I do think that we will see Jimmy Butler again in this series. And I think, if you're also being honest with yourself about Rockets Warriors game one, the Rockets could have won that game by a lot more than they did. Hey, a win is a win, right? But I feel like there are some things that definitely need to be cleaned up when this series goes to San Francisco on Saturday. Alperen Şengün, who had 17 and 16, has got to stop missing easy shots underneath the hoop. Come on, man. 40%. And I get that he looked really good in game one, where the Rockets' size advantage was so obvious. But we've seen Şengün have these same struggles under the basket a lot this year. This wasn't the only time it's looked like that. And like Şengün's going to need to have another big game. Fred VanVleet, his struggles shooting have continued. He's going to have to do something because I'm looking at this series going forward, a series where I expect Jimmy Butler to return, as one where Jalen Green's going to need help. It can't be just Jalen Green. Somebody else has to contribute. This is a Rockets team, a team that's not very good at scoring, a team. Green can't do everything. Who do you trust to actually step up consistently? Because right now with Green, we're not quite there. Todd the Show brings up that Şengün was getting fouled quite a bit. It was a weird game from a foul perspective because game one, they let a lot of things slide. This game, I felt the whistle was a little more, was definitely a lot more used than it was in game one. I felt like they did not let all contact go like they were in game one. And I got to say, it ruined the flow of the game. That game took forever last night. That's one of the longest basketball games I can remember, considering the final score was a 15-point differential. A game like that should be quick, right? Some comments on YouTube at ESPN Houston. Fred VanVleet needs to join the party, says Asim. Desert Show says Fred VanVleet can ride the bench for all I care. Yeah, that's a very polarizing topic, Mr. Fred VanVleet. What do you do about him? Because, I mean, he is your best ball handler, but he also thinks he's open every single time he shoots and thinks he's a good shooter every single time he shoots. From the 832, Şengün needs to stop turning the ball over too. Agree with that. More texts in. 713-780-3776 to call to text. From the 409 on Jalen Green. What impressed me most was he took a lot of shots, but he did not give up even though he was missing as well. I like it, but that does lend itself to the Fred VanVleet line of thinking. I'm going to keep shooting and 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 shooting, even if I'm over 20.
I would say to that,
never quit.
Never underestimate the art of a champion.
There you have it. Wise words from Cal McNair.
That's Cal McNair.
Never quit, baby.
Never quit.
He also has this to say after the Rockets won game two.
It's always fun to win.
It is always fun to win.